Last year, the Memphis Grizzlies, you could say, were the most physical team in the NBA, as during the regular season, they had an average of 23.2 fouls per game, more than any other team in the league, and about 4 more fouls per game than the league average of about 19-ish fouls per game. And even back then, fans and players were complaining about the officials. Of course, there were some players last season who said that they weren't getting enough foul calls, and that they feel like they should be shooting a lot more free throws than they actually were. And then there were others saying that there were too many fouls being called, and the refs will just about call anything. So throughout the entire season, there was nothing but complaints when it came down to how the games were being officiated. For myself though, outside of the refs missing some blatant calls every here and there, or calling a foul out of thin air just to seemingly benefit one of the teams, I, for the most part, didn't have a problem with what was going on and how the games were being officiated. It wasn't perfect whatsoever, but it also wasn't the worst thing in the world either. That being said though, if any of you have watched a single preseason game so far, doesn't matter which one it was, you had to have noticed that the refs were calling fouls on what seemed like every change of possession. I don't know if they're just trying to get all the dust out their whistles from not being in use in the past few months or what, but even before checking how many fouls were being called in the games, I could just tell that there were way too many. Look, listen, I was trying to watch the Pistons vs Thunder game yesterday, really wanting to enjoy it. It was the first game the Pistons were playing this year, and I was extremely excited about it. But as I was watching it, I found that it was kind of hard for me to get into it because there was no flow to the game, since there was a foul call literally every 45 seconds. I mean, I was just like, dang, this guy just got a foul for taking off his warm-ups too aggressively when it was checking into the game. That's what it seemed like. But still, I sat through and watched the entire game, and then after the game I checked the numbers, and get this, there were 55 foul calls in that game alone. 55. There's only 48 minutes in the NBA game and 55 fouls were called. We literally couldn't go a full minute of play without being interrupted due to a foul. And now I could see if players were being overly physical and the fouls should have been called, but for the most part, I don't even know what the fouls were being called for. And then I started to remember back to some of the other preseason games that I had been watching, and noticed that I felt a similar way about those games too. And at the time when I was watching those games, I just thought that I couldn't get into them as much because I didn't have a dog in the race. My favorite team wasn't playing, so I wasn't as invested into the games as normal. But then I realized that that wasn't it at all. Once again, it was because of all the fouls that were being called that completely destroyed the flow of the game. After realizing that, I did some research on those games, and I was like, dang, compared to the rest of these games, 55 foul calls was on the lower end of the spectrum. For example, I'm going to name off a few. The Knicks vs Nets game yesterday, 59 fouls were called. Clippers vs Wolves yesterday, 63 fouls were called. Once again, 55 in the Lakers vs Nuggets, and same for the Raptors vs Jazz. 71 were called a couple of nights ago in the Rockets vs Grizzlies game, and however, there were only 31 called in the Bucks vs Bulls game, but that game was such a blow that the refs probably just didn't think it was even necessary to call fouls anymore. Would have just been a waste of time. But anyways, get this. In the Knicks vs Wizards game, 83 fouls were called. 83 whistle blows in a single game. Miraculously, no one managed to foul out that game. I don't even know how that's possible, but yo, 83 fouls in a single game. This can't be real life. So of course, after seeing this pattern throughout the season, my next course of action was to try and discover just why so many fouls are being called. Find out what the deal is, and come to find out that the officials are going to be cracking down on off-the-ball fouls this season, meaning that pretty much any contact whatsoever that occurs away from the ball will be called on the player who initiated the contact, aka you can't touch any other player on the opposing team for any reason, at any time, ever, under no circumstances, no matter what your excuse is. It's not allowed, ever. No contact. Ever. Which makes sense why it just seems like these fouls are happening at random throughout these games, and I didn't notice a majority of them when they happen, because look, when I watch a basketball game, I don't know about you guys, I'm watching whoever has the ball. I'm not paying attention to the other 8 players on the court, just the guy with the ball and whoever is defending him. So when something happens on the far side baseline, I don't see it. And the refs were guilty of this last year too, and they were getting called out for it, as the Warriors began complaining, saying that Stephen Curry's always getting fouled when he's running on the court behind screens to try and get open. For example, take a look at this clip. Now clearly there was a lot of contact there and it should have been called a foul, but the refs weren't paying attention to that. And when this was brought to their attention, that is pretty much the excuse of the game, that it should have been a foul, but they were looking at the baseline. They were watching whoever had the ball like a normal person. It's like human instinct to watch where the action is. And it's because of that, it seems, that this year they're going to be calling everything, where, like I said, under no circumstance are you allowed to even make the slightest amount of contact with another player. Ever. So I have another update on the Jimmy Butler situation, and I think he's still going to be playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves, for now at least. Look, Tom Thibodeau has made it crystal clear that he isn't really going to trade Butler right now. Sure, he says that he's working on finding a trade for Butler, but he knows that he's not going to let Jimmy Butler go. Tibbs wants him back in the team and thinks that once he's playing again and if the team is winning, that can change Butler's mind about wanting to leave. That's what he's hoping for, and that's exactly what's going on in his mind. So all he has to do is just stall and only make demands from teams that he knows they won't be willing to accept. And Adrian Wojnarowski confirmed this last night with a series of tweets. The first one saying, Miami and Minnesota have been consistently engaged in Jimmy Butler trade talks for several days, with the Heat pushing the Timberwolves for an answer today on a revised offer. Minnesota's conversations are relatively sparse elsewhere, remain focused on Miami. Later saying, sources, barring a trade, Tom Thibodeau is still determined to get Butler back with the team for the start of the season. Butler hasn't made a final decision on when he'll join the team in practice, but he doesn't plan to miss regular season games if his wrist is healthy. And the real reason a deal hasn't been completed yet is, of course, because the Wolves want too much. They want Bam Adebayo, Josh Richardson, and the Heat's 2019 first-round draft pick. So here's basically what went down. They've been talking about this for weeks now. The Miami Heat finally made an offer closer to what the Wolves were looking for. The Wolves got that offer and was like, well, I'm glad you're starting to see on our terms, but guess what? Now we want a little more. That is exactly what Tom Thibodeau is doing. Miami's trying to meet him halfway, but every time that he come back to them, he's raising the price. So Minnesota, please fire Tibbs before it's too late. I mean, it's already probably too late as it is, but it can honestly still get worse. So fire him before it gets worse. DeAndre Ayton was great again yesterday. The man was absolutely dominant. Looked like he was playing against a team that wasn't in the same league as him, because he was playing against a team that's not in the same league as him. Man was playing against a team from New Zealand, so if he wasn't dominant, there would have been a problem. And I think the fact that the Suns only won by 5 points is still a problem. Like, this should have been an absolute blowout, but a win is a win, I guess. It's just Suns, they do have some nice young talent, but the rest of their roster is complete garbage. Alonzo Trier, I'm not 100% sure how to say the name yet. The rookie that no one talks about, though, that's what we're gonna call him. The rookie that no one talks about, and the rookie that the Knicks decided to give a chance despite his sketchy past. He was banned or something like that from college sports after he tested positive for steroids, PEDs. But he says that his dad would just mix them into his meals and drinks every day, and he had no idea what was going on until he was tested positive, which, if that is the case, is beyond messed up, and that dad should probably be thrown behind bars, but who knows? And that's not even important anymore either. The only thing that matters right now is whether or not the kid can hoop or not, and from his first 2 preseason games, it seems like he might be able to hoop a little bit. He had his best game yesterday in the Knicks' 107-102 win over the Nets, as he put up 25 points on 8 of 12 shooting from the field. The undrafted rookie was arguably the best player on the court yesterday, and I say arguably because Cantor did have a 2020 game with 22 points and 20 rebounds, but you know, keep an eye out for Alonzo though. Jabari Parker played his first game back in Milwaukee. I'm sure he had this marked in his calendar. He was like, I'm about to show the Bucks what they passed up on. They didn't want me anymore, the Bulls did, so I'm gonna go in there and set flames to that court, show them what they passed up on. I could have been great for them. You know, he tried to have a statement game, but turns out that this was probably the worst game of his career. 1 of 12 from the field and only 2 points in a blowout loss. 116-82. I know that man could not wait to get out of Milwaukee last night. Giannis was doing absolute work though. Like he decimated the Bulls. 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists in only 22 minutes. Yeah. Guy was going off on Jabari. Seems like he sent his own message. You guys know what rookie I'm low-key going to be keeping an eye on this season? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That name's actually pretty fun to say. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Say it with me. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The guy has all the tools to be the perfect modern-day point guard. He has the length, he has the athleticism, he has the shooting ability, he has the defense, he has the passing. It's only a matter of how good can he actually be at this point. He was good for the Clippers yesterday, played a very in-control game, 12 points on 5 of 8 shooting and 5 assists, no turnovers. He was smooth, took his shot when it was there, but also realized that both Tobias Harris and Danilo Gallinari had it going, so he just had to get out of the way. Impressive play for a rookie, and the Clippers won 128-101. Dennis Schroeder seems like he was made to play on this Thunder team. His chemistry with Steven Adams on the pick and roll yesterday was already at an elite level. It looks like they've been playing with each other for their entire careers. And poor old Jose Calderon just didn't stand a chance trying to defend him. It was bad until Andre Drummond started to take over in the second half. He flat out carried the Pistons to a win yesterday. 31 points and 15 rebounds. I believe 23 of those points came in the second half. It was basically he and Stanley Johnson for Detroit versus Steven Adams and Dennis Schroeder for the Thunder. The Pistons did wind up getting the win, but had Schroeder and Adams played at the end of the game, it might have been different. Who knows? It's just preseason though. Anyways, that is everything that we gotta talk about for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to smack that like button and subscribe to the channel with post notifications turned on so you can stay up to date with everything that goes on in the NBA on a daily basis. Thank you once again for watching though. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, but until tomorrow, I am out of here. Peace!